All right, everyone. Happy Friday. It's time for Q&A with Alan and Marshall. But guess what? Alan Howe is traveling and can't be here. So I got this character to hang out with me today. So this is Nick Wood with Graphic Source, if you don't know him. If you do know him, you know what treat you're going to be in for today. So how you doing today, Nick?
Doing great. Very excited for the podcast. And anytime with Marshall that's time well spent.
Right. And so you used to live in Washington State and you now live somewhere else. Where are you today?
Yeah, that's correct. So last Sunday, I actually packed up all of my stuff in Walla Walla, Washington, which is a town of about 37,000. So it's pretty small. And actually relocated to Dallas, Texas, which is where Graphics headquarters is. And it's interesting because it feels like home immediately, which I thought there was going to be a transitional phase, but Dallas is where it's at. It's incredible. Also moving out of the house and going into an office I missed it, surprisingly enough. So
yeah, well, I work out of my home. This is Atkinson Consulting.
Right.
Is it's a bedroom, right? But it's an office. I mean, it looks just like an office, but it's in a bedroom. So
yeah, it's actually kind of crazy. So even before like COVID and all that good stuff, I'd worked remotely for Ryonet for. I think I quantified it the other day, and it's I've worked remote for about 7 years with M&R.
Wow.
So yeah, it's nice. I kind of miss.
Well, now do you miss the morning commute, which is go down the hallway,
right?
Right, and not have to get into a car, right? That's what I really love about how I work now is I just walk up a flight of stairs and I'm at work, so it's pretty easy.
And you crush it at it too. So it's, it
well, thanks. Yeah. So, hey, while we're getting going here, I want to say hello to some folks watching. And I just want to remind people to please say hello. Let us know that you're watching. Let us know where you're watching from, what part of the world. And then also don't forget that this is a Q&A show, which means that it really relies on your interaction and engagement to work. So we need questions, we need comments, we need, you making fun of Nick or whatever you want to do. We need that today. And if you could, please share that you're watching. Let everybody know that the show's going on. Some folks like me, I live in Arizona. There was a time change and I'm still dealing with trying to figure out what time is it everywhere, because in Arizona, we don't do that here. It's the same time as it's always been, but it's different everywhere else. So that's really kind of threw me off this week. In fact, earlier today, I thought this show was at the same time and it's not. And I had a little chuckle. So anyway, so please share. And I want to say hello to some folks. So Frank's watching. Nick's a Texan.
What's up, Frank?
Enjoying that. Josh is here from Oklahoma. Good morning. Hurley's here. Good morning, gentlemen. Brian's here. Good morning from Missouri.
Wow.
Richard says good morning from Michigan. Good afternoon, actually, from Michigan. Joanne says hi. Joanne here from Michigan. Lots of Michiganders here today. Sam says afternoon. Hurley says we're all the same as Saskatchewan as well. Just another reason why Canadians are better, right? I guess. Keith says good morning, guys. Charles says, hey, guys, happy Friday. Thanks for watching, everyone. So, before, I don't know if everybody knows what Graphic Source does. So, I mean, I know, right? And I would really love just to get you to give everyone the 411 on what Graphic Source is. And then maybe we're going to get into some topics here in a minute. So that's really going to set that up, I think.
Yeah, great question. So what Graphics does specifically, and I have to give a shout out to, we have some amazing people in here. Josh, I'm going to come visit you, by the way, now that I'm in Dallas. So I think that's what, a 2-hour drive, 3-hour drive. So yeah, Josh Wiley. Hey, so what Graphic Source does specifically is we handle art departments primarily in the textile market. So that's really where we dig our heels in, not only for promo products, screen print separations, proofing, really all that technical garment work. We
And
try
you're digitizing too, right?
Yeah, digitizing as well. Yeah, so all that technical work that takes years to train an artist. What we do is we have a training protocol where we get artists up to speed. And let's say, let's use IGG as an example. We place an artist with them, log into their Printavo account, and when they sell a job or need something proofed or redrawn or their sticker work, we have access to that Printavo account, and then go and pull those jobs and start processing them on behalf of Josh. So it's a very seamless process for sure, and it's grown exponentially. So
great, awesome. Yeah. So we're going to get us some sales stuff and maybe some art stuff later in the show. So you guys stay tuned. Start thinking about maybe some questions you'd like to ask. This isn't going to be like an hour-long commercial for a graphic source, but Nick is a really great sales guy, and so he's got some really good thoughts on some stuff. And of course, artwork affects everybody, so we'll get into some things with that too. Oh, Charles is in Phoenix today.
Hey,
what's up with that, man? How come we're not hooking up? So anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. Let's get into some topics here as soon as we do a little word from our sponsor, which of course is the awesome folks from GSG. And so let's hear that awesome music. That's like my favorite song now, I think. There should be some words to that.
Did a great job on that.
Maybe we'll get Mark Sildonek to write some words and sing.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. So, hey, Peter's here. Another person from Michigan. Thanks, Pete, for watching. So let's get into some topics. The first thing, before we get too far into this, is I want to remind people that next week is Thanksgiving, and Alan and I are not going to have a show next week. I know that's really going to disappoint you guys. Alan's going to Florida to be with his family, and I've got my family here, and so we're going to be all laying around lazy from too much turkey, I think. So no show next Friday. So just letting everybody know, if you tune in next week and we're not here, that's why. So, anyway, so our first topic today is lead generation. Okay, so this affects everybody that's watching right now, because guess what we all need, Nick? We all need new customers, right? You need new customers, okay? So I'm very interested in the Nick Wood style of lead generation. So what do you do?
Yeah, and like we mentioned before, referrals are probably the best lead gen, but you can't base your entire day just off of somebody referring you. What I've found to be extremely successful is obviously pre-writing an email for customers to send, like, hey, if you like this service, or if you trust what I do for you, if there's anybody in the same industry, go ahead, pre-write an email so they can just pop their name up top. And that's an easy one. But secondly, I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. LinkedIn is probably the best in terms of kind of learning the hierarchy of the corporate structure. So I actually have a case study. We have a person that comes in here, and is a friend of the owner, Brent's. Super cool guy, runs a ton of businesses. But he had mentioned that he needed a source for sublimated jerseys. And he said in the past they were using JOG, J-O-G, so fully sublimated apparel company. And I was like, well, we do a lot of sublimation mock-ups. So I was like, yeah, let me do, I actually referred him over to Steven from Clubhouse, just because the Clubhouse jerseys are amazing and the wholesale pricing is so cheap. They were paying $75 they were essentially paying retail for custom sublimated hockey jerseys, and Clubhouse came in at like 35, which is significantly better. But what I did was I was like, okay, let's check out Jog. Let's see what they do. And either proofing templates matched up with exactly what we did. The workflow is exactly what we do for a lot of different customers. Went on LinkedIn, found out that the CEO is actually based in Bangkok, we have a location in Bangkok as well. So I hit him up on LinkedIn, and that's kind of a case study in lifetime. So we'll see where that one goes. So put them into our CRM and all that good stuff.
So let's unpack this a little bit. So what you do is you search using LinkedIn, finding the people, kind of understanding what they're about,
right?
Clicking on contact info, getting that information, putting it into your CRM, which, by the way, could just be as simple as a spreadsheet. Doesn't have to be anything super fancy.
Right.
And that way you're tracking, and it's kind of an on-purpose thing where you're reaching out to them, and you've got a templated email or drip marketing or something that's going to happen after that. So your lead generation is really just identifying a prospect and then inserting it to a templated way of contacting them and selling them and following up. Is that more or less what I heard?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly the process. And I will say on the initial ping, so when I reached out to the CEO, the initial ping is just to understand, so the pitch will come in after I really have a deep understanding of what they need, because maybe they don't need an artwork service. Maybe they have an in-house team of 40 in Bangkok that they don't need. So it's really just more so to understand the full process of what they're doing. But yeah, to answer your question, absolutely. So we use a program called Streak. Streak is the CRM. It's a skin that runs over Gmail, and I love it. It's easy to.
So you're a streaker?
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time. You see me at the Dallas games. Yeah, Josh needs some bail money, by the way. Yeah, so Streak is fantastic in the fact that you can set auto follow-ups, so you don't have to be the person that it's a drip, like you're saying exactly. But there's some different features in Streak that I really like, in terms of like geo tracking, and it like notifies you when emails are open and forwarded, which is pretty cool. And it's one of those things where if you've sent an email and it's 2 months later and you get a notification on your computer that the email has been read, oftentimes what I'll do is I'll send an email right when I see that come through, as just kind of a secondary reminder. People go, "Oh, I was actually just thinking about you," and I'm like, "Yeah, you're reading the email." So
right, yeah, that's great.
It's great. Also, I like to get. I know some people texting. Like I feel like any lead that you can get on that bond with, it's immediate and it's fast. And I know some people are weird about giving their cell phones out, but I've even around it. I've been operating off of my cell for, God, it's probably 16 years now. So it's one of those things that forces you to handle issues immediately. It's one of those things where you kind of put your back against the wall and say, all right, this is, the buck stops here, which can be good and a bad thing in the fact that, especially when I was on the West Coast, you usually starts about 5:30 a.m. and kind of tapers off around 6, 7, 8 o'clock p.m. But I don't know, I've always found that that's kind of the buck stops there. You put your back up against the wall and find solutions immediately. If there's problems, you address them immediately. So yeah.
So a couple things. First off, Keith, you're absolutely right. Next week isn't Thanksgiving; it's 2 weeks, and I can't. I evidently not. Can I use time zones? I can't actually use a calendar either. So my fault. So there will be a show next week, but there wasn't for the day after Thanksgiving, which is Black Friday. So we won't be having a show then. So thanks, Keith. Josh said texting our quotes and proofs has improved our response by 35%. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
Here's what I love about it. Not only has it improved the process, but Josh is measuring, right?
Yeah, right.
That's how he knows it's 35%. So I love the fact that, Josh, that you're measuring the outcome so you can see if the change, if the juice was worth the squeeze, right? You're measuring the outcome. And so now you know that, so you can work on improving. That's really fantastic, Josh. So thanks. I love that. So Streak is a platform you pay for, or is that just a Chrome extension that you can get for free?
Yeah, I think they have a free version as well too. I think we pay like $100 a month. It's really affordable, especially for the power that it has. You know, that's one thing where I've used in the past. We've used like NetSuite, which is way more expensive. Max 200. You know, these are programs that are like, you know, $25,000 a month, which is, you know, that's definitely out of my budget for sure. But yeah, so Streak's incredible. I mean, you get the same functionality. You know, if the goal is to end up, you know, working with whatever client, you get the same functionality versus, you know, paying $25,000 a month for an ERP system. So
all right. So if you're watching right now, I would love it if you would comment on, you know, programs that you're using, or how do you do your lead generation? How do you identify a potential customer? I know a lot of folks do their Dream 100 or Dream 50, where they look out and go, hey, these are the people that we really want to work with. And then they start researching their needs and the contacts and all that kind of stuff. LinkedIn, of course, is really great for that. And then they have a system that they build where they're sending things. And I was chatting with another shop owner earlier this week, and they were talking about wanting to send a sample pack to somebody. And I was suggesting that they sent it to their dream client and then follow up with a video. I'm big on videos. Follow up with a video with an email holding up the sample, saying, hey, we just sent you this. Wanted to make sure that you got it. And if you've got any questions, give us a call. Here's how you schedule, or here's how you buy, whatever. But you have some sort of call to action at the end of it, right? And so I go, the thing to do here is to build it out into a process so you're doing the same thing every time. So when you see a potential customer, you just put them into the workflow, and then out comes, you know, results. That's kind of the idea here. And then you tweak it as you go for, you know, whatever you need, right? So got some good comments here. Richard says, my favorite follow-up question, how are you measuring that? Of course, I love that. Great, thanks, Richard. And Nick says, Nick, I'm still impressed with your Tap BizCard app.
Oh, I learned that one from a client, Frank.
What is that? Let's shed some light on that.
It's worth so this is called a dot. Phone's upside down. Worth it's like a $20 little sticker that you put on the back. So when they send it to you, you set up your VCF. You just like scan it in front of your phone, and it'll prompt you to set up your contact card. But the cool thing is, with this, you tap another phone, and your contact info automatically goes to the phone.
Do they have to have the dot thing?
No, it can be Android. You know. How does
the phone that doesn't have that get it? I don't understand.
It's I trust it.
Okay, it's magic. Is Keebler Elf magic?
Yeah, right, exactly. So yeah, and it's you know, that way you don't have to carry business cards, and you can shoot a text follow up or an email follow up immediately. But yeah, it is.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and they do. They have like a business card as well too, to where, you know, it's essentially the same thing. So just works great.
Is there a Zapier link to that into your CRM tool to say, hey, you tapped your business card with Marshall's phone, send him a follow-up tomorrow?
There's not. There should be. So you do have to manually enter the data, or excuse me, you do have to like, I don't have one set up yet. So that's a good call, by the way.
Well, I just want to make all about making things easier, right?
Right.
Man, somebody really wants to talk to you. I don't know what all that
I'm telling you, this is all day, every day. So I'm killing the app right now. So
yeah. So thanks for bringing that up, Frank. I appreciate that.
Good call.
I'm going to have to look into the .dot, right? Just dot.
Yeah, I think it's dot.biz. It's definitely
.biz.
Yeah, they have one of the URLs. One of those.
Okay. So, all right. So let's say that as part of our lead generation, we identify we want to work with somebody. Okay. Let's just call him Josh Wiley. Okay. Yeah, we want to work with Josh Wiley, right? We don't know Josh.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We see him on LinkedIn and you've reached out and it's crickets because Josh is busy running his business. He doesn't want to do anything with Nick. Right.
Yeah. Right.
What is your follow-up routine on people who are kind of ghosted you? Do you give them a couple attempts and then just write them off, or you escalate it with something even cooler than an email, or how do you do it?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it really does depend on the lead size. Like, I hate to like put it like that, the effort is equal to whatever the payoff is going to be.
Yeah.
So if it's a bit, if it's somebody like a hit promotion, you just have to stay on them. So obviously with Streak, you can set those things up to auto email, but usually by that time I've identified who I want to work with. And the ghosting is, I have to say, it's gotten more rare past COVID, which I think, people just want to talk to other people, but yeah, yeah, without a doubt. So, I've sent wine, I'll do literally whatever it takes. Which, yeah, you're exactly right. You escalate it. If it's a big client, you definitely figure out, what's going to make the biggest impact for them. And I use a thing called wooden cork. So instead of me having to go down and like pack a bottle of wine and send it to somebody, or if it's like, illegal to send to their state, you don't want to do that. I'll use this place called Wooden Cork, and like it'll, you can just set it up with like personalized notes. They'll like handwrite out for you.
So your strategy is to get them drunk.
Who doesn't?
That's such a great strategy. Awesome.
Yeah, exactly right. So ultimately it's, you do whatever it takes, but Wooden Cork's been very effective. GXS packs are obviously effective, but I really try to get it more personalized. If they're a golfer, I'll send them golf balls. So that's something, if I'm getting to that point of, if it's past an email, past phone calls, past the pings, I'll usually have a pretty good idea on what they're looking for, what's going to make them say, wow. So, and that's another thing in the CRM, note down what their hobbies are. If they're a cyclist, if they're a golfer, if they're, like Joshua, I know what Josh likes for sure. So,
you got my cell phone number from somebody. Huh? So, that's great. Sorry, Josh, I wasn't picking on you. I was just, being funny.
So yeah, usually at that point, if I'm going to send them a package, it's definitely
right.
I'll give you a case study. For instance, with the shirt show team, I remember Dylan and Maggie were in Utah. I was in Washington at the time, and I wanted to send them like a thank you for that. And it was personalized, with what they like versus, just a bottle of bourbon.
Right. Yeah. Nick Wood likes alcohol. Who knew? Right. I've been in a bar with Nick before.
Fun times. That's a guarantee.
I can tell you he likes alcohol as much as I do.
That's right.
Hey, Sean's here. Good afternoon, you too. Hey. So, all right. So, hey, I would love it if you guys would ask both of us your lead generation questions. Where do you get stuck? Or maybe just write how you guys do it. How do you identify a potential customer so you can go after them? what are you guys doing? I would love for everyone to share kind of their methodology or results or lack of results or whatever, and let's get that out there. So, and Elizabeth has got a little smiley face there for you. So, is that your girlfriend, Elizabeth?
Yeah, that's my lady right there for sure.
Right, talk nice about her.
Right. Marshall actually remembered Elizabeth's name from meeting her once, which is pretty impressive.
It is impressive. And what's even more impressive, I think I was about 6 Jack and Cokes into that evening when
Print Hustlers was one of the funnest events I've been to in 2021, without a doubt.
I don't know. I think the one in Texas was better, but
yeah,
I'm just biased. So I like Print Hustlers. It was good. I'm not going to rag on Bruce, but
I was wearing my Shirt Lab shirt while setting up, by the way, so I had to give you some props.
Yeah, good. So Simon says, good morning. Hey. Yeah, so let's get to the next part of that, which of course is referrals. Okay. And so I'm really big on referrals. I actually get a lot of referrals. A lot of people refer me. If there's a shop struggling, I get a referral. Hey, Marshall, you need to see if you can help these folks out. So I always appreciate that. And one of the things that I read, I think it was Jeffrey Gitomer, right? Or maybe it's something he said. I can't remember. Either he read it or he said it, which is to get more referrals, you have to be referable, right? Mm-hmm. And which means that you need to be constantly kicking ass for people, right? So you can't be letting them down. You got to take care of business. That's just like the starting point, mm-hmm. right? Because if it's the reason why referrals don't usually happen is because people are afraid that if they refer you or refer your company or your product or service and you let them down somehow, that will come back and bite them, which is why they don't give the referral, right? So you totally have to take care. If you want to get more referrals, you totally have to take care of business first, right? That's just the playing stakes, right? And then give reasons why you should be a good referral, right? That's kind of what you do. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, referrals represent a significant portion of my business. In fact, I got a referral from Printavo yesterday, and I always set a rule, like if there's an email introduction, I try to, that's about as prompt as it gets, which in turn will continue those referrals, right? So if it's an email referral, which was from Jessica over at Printavo, introducing me to a shop up in, I think, north of Madison, that email sits in the inbox for 15 minutes and it's responded to immediately. So like that kind of stuff continues to keep it. But then also, like we were talking before the show, having pre-scripted emails that your customers can just forward on, which really helps. Like,
I like that, and I call that the football, right? So if you want me to, I think I've talked to you about the football before. If you want me to refer you, you have to give me the football, right? So I can just hand it off to somebody, and I don't have to do any work because I'm busy running my business, right?
Yeah,
so think about for you guys out there, right? If you want your accountant or your banker or that deli or the school or whoever to refer you, do you make it easy for them to do that? Because you've got pre-written stuff, you've got pre-printed stuff, you've got a sample pack, you have a methodology back, built already for that, where they can just hand somebody the football and it's easy for them to give it away so that person can go and score the touchdown, right? So because I think when you have that makes it so much easier for the other person because everything is already done.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, pre-scripted, and it's your verbiage. It's what you want, the next call to action. So it's
yes.
Yeah, that's precisely right. We get a lot of LinkedIn referrals as well too, and it's like I just have something that I just pop in their messenger and say, hey, copy and paste, just change your name. Which is
right. Yeah, and like one of the reasons why I use Calendly, right? Because you can like say, call Marshall. Here's his phone number. Well, anybody who's tried to call me knows I live on my phone, and like getting through is difficult sometimes. And so I use Calendly to schedule calls, and that way there's an open slot, and that's part of my referral methodology. Is hey, here's my link, here's the thing, schedule a call with me and we can talk. And that way the time that that person selects and my time are already synced up, and it isn't inconvenient or phone tag or anything, because that completely eliminates that friction point. So I like Calendly a lot. And so I use it all the time. And my calendar, I'm a Google Suite guy, right? My calendar is all color coded with different stuff. Like, and that way I can look at my calendar and I can tell what I have to do today just based on the colors, you know, and so that really helps.
Yeah, so I use Calendly, and I feel like that's super effective in the sales process, because I always like am conscious when I cold call somebody. That's, you know, it's almost the start and the stop, right? You could be in, you know, answering an email, you know, burning screens, whatever it is. It's a start and a stop. Versus, you know, with Calendly, and I use GCal as well, so Calendly syncs right up with GCal. That time is blocked out, and I've always found it's like much more effective to get on a video call versus, you know, just a cold call over the phone. I mean, it's dependent on, you know, what the customer wants. Obviously, we'll call them on whatever platform they need.
Right.
But in terms of effectiveness, video call is significantly better than just a normal call.
I like doing video calls. I use an app called DialPad for that. That's how I do my coaching calls. It automatically records everything and transcribes it, and then sends that to me, which I can forward to the person if they want that, right? And you can always turn it off if they don't want to be recorded, but it really helps. I love seeing people and that kind of stuff, but let's face it, not everybody. Some people are having a bad hair day and they don't want to be on a camera, right? Yeah. And or if, you know, they're driving their car or some other reason why, and that would be distracting. So, you know. Yeah. All right. Hey, by the way, Elizabeth says Fort Worth wins. Thank you. Yeah, and then Artem says, good morning, gentlemen. Nick, get back to work.
I love that guy. But I just had a conversation with him yesterday.
Yeah, he's a hilarious dude. Let me tell you.
Without a doubt.
Anyway, so referrals. So how do you generate more referrals? Do you ask, hey, please refer me? Do you have as part of the drip marketing, do you guys have a campaign where your customers refer somebody else, they get a thing, or what do you guys do?
We definitely need to get better at that, for sure. So I will, you know, point some fault for sure. It's really one of those things where I don't actively ask, and that needs to change. But then, you know, it's also, we've had a lot of incoming, and, you know, I've been kind of focusing on that, but we definitely have to do better at that, for sure.
Yeah. So, well, I'd make it part of your drip marketing, and just like, you know, every 3 months or something, whatever, once a quarter, there's an email that goes out saying, hey, if you know anybody, blah, 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 here's what you do. Right.
I'll call them a t-shirt. I feel like they do the best at that. Although, like, you know, I've followed, it's funny because the call to actions are like, you know, automatic, and I've done it a million times, but I still get the emails. I'm like, you guys are too good. It's a little too frequent, for sure.
Yeah. Right. So, well, here's what I'll tell you is when it gets annoying, people will unsubscribe. And until then, it's okay.
Right.
Okay. And so you just have to make sure they have a way to get out of it. Right. And I get emails all the time, and the unsubscribe button is like the same color as the footer or something. You can't find it. Those are the ones that I flag as spam.
Yeah. Without a doubt. Yeah.
because you need to make it easy for me to get out of this crazy loop that I'm in, right?
That's
And okay, great. So let's switch to the next topic, which is art trends. Okay, so here we are, ending the year for 2021 and beginning in 2022. And your business is artwork, and I'm kind of passionate about that as well.
right.
So, what are you seeing as some art trends that you feel are really making a difference out there?
Yeah, I mean, it's holiday season, so obviously sweatshirt designs, 3/4 zips. What I've been seeing a lot, though, especially on the promo side, is working from home gear. So I know we've had that conversation before, but people are selling banners like green screen banners with corporate logos on them. So I think that's going to be still big this year as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely embroidery side kicks up majorly at this time. So
Yep.
tons of 3D work coming through. But yeah, 3/4 zip sweatshirts. It's holiday season for sure.
Yeah. I'll tell you what a design trend that I see, and I don't think it's going away next year, which is doing things with dimension.
Yeah.
Okay. So instead of just flat, it's a flat screen print, it's a flat embroidery, it's a flat heat transfer. I think you're still seeing a lot of puff. You're seeing a lot of three-dimensional stuff. You're seeing a lot of raised areas. You're seeing a lot of stuff that comes off of the garment, of the hat, of the shirt, of the whatever. And this is why I think people like leather patches. This is why they like puff embroidery. This is why they like puff or dimensional screen printing. It's just because it's a little different. It has some texture to it. It feels different. I think that's one of the reasons why people like silicone ink so much, is because it feels different. It's got that kind of rubbery feel to it.
Perceived value too. It jumps the perceived value.
It's a higher value, right? So it doesn't really require that much more effort, but I think you can get a little more money for that. And so a lot of times I am scoping out stores. When I was in Chicago a couple weeks ago for Print Hustlers, I spent a morning just going down to Michigan Avenue and going to the stores, right? So I was in the Nike store for a good hour right there on the main street there, and just looking at what they were doing. And let me tell you, a lot of their prints were dimensional, raised up, doing some fun things with silicone, fun things with foil. Some were really kind of cool prints where you look at it on the side and it's white, but the top is a color. So you see that slight little edge to it. And I think that dimension printing, I think, is not going away. So I think that's something that people should be looking into. If you don't know how to do it, there's tons of people who know how, right? There's lots of resources for that. Are you seeing stuff like that still? What do you think?
Oh yeah, for sure. And you can see it on the embroidery orders, where you get towards the holiday season and puff orders increase by 60%. It's like, yeah, you're precisely right, to the T. So especially with the big retail brands, that's really where the value is for sure.
Yeah, so I think this is why applique is popular. Chenille is popular for embroidery. Just adding puff additive. Just think right now it's holiday, right? And let's say you're going to do something with, I don't know, snowflakes on them, right? Mm-hmm. So put some puff additive in there, and then that snowflake is now dimensional on the shirt. And then add in some Crystallina on top of that, right? And then guess what? Now you've got a puff Crystallina, like reflective, kind of cool looking snowflake on the shirt. And I think that really kind of pops off and makes it look cool, right?
When I was around at the ink sales, you wouldn't get a Crystallina order until the holidays, and then it's like, all right, I need Crystallina now.
Well, it just depends on the market. If your market is grandma's at Cracker Barrel, that sells year round. Okay.
Mhm.
So, the sweatshirt with the little cardinal birds with the snow on the branch,
Yeah.
those are full of Crystalina.
I always hated reclaiming the Crystalina screens because your washout booth was messed up for the next month. It's just like
Yeah. So as soon as you get Simon says, as soon as you get a compliment from a customer, that is the time to ask for referrals. Thanks so much. You have any friends or associates who need, give them my name. Exactly. Thank you. Josh says, we just did a fingerprint. Turned out awesome. I guess you mean like a gigantic fingerprint, not you put fingerprints on the shirt by accident, right?
Never happens, right? Never happens.
Yeah, it does. Only when you're eating Doritos, right? Yeah, or a Kit Kat. Have you ever been to a shop and then the catcher's sitting there eating a Kit Kat and then catching shirts, and now the shirts have chocolate all over them? I've seen that too many times. So, no food on the production floor, please.
No.
Anyway, so Michelle says, "Hey, Dickwood, how is life?" I guess they're poking fun at you, right? Puff print, yeah, exactly. I can help with that. Exactly. Thanks, Simon. So, what are the art trends you seeing out there? I keep seeing really big words, really big letters. Stacked type is huge. I'm seeing a lot of really, the hand-drawn look is still popular. Another thing that's really popular is the translucent ink. Where you use curable reducer and base it down a little bit. I mean, that's. Let me get rid of this.
That's your favorite style of print, especially for the holiday gifts.
So this one, the shirt I'm wearing, it's got some reducer in it, so the flecks of the shirt show through. That's always a really kind of cool look.
I was going to say for the holiday, especially when everybody's selling T-shirts like that. In my opinion, the tone on tone.
Yeah,
it's a way, you're already marking up the blank, and it's such a cheap way to produce just a killer looking garment. So like that, when I had my print shop, I sold that a lot just because it was, flew through the production floor. Ink costs were cheap. Like, just, it didn't upset the production at all. Like it was great.
Yeah. The other thing I'm seeing a lot of is either things getting really gigantically huge or really super tiny.
Yeah.
So it's one or the other. So it's really about being different, right? So instead of making, like a center chest print, it's just an enormous print. I mean, just like all over. Or what's happening, I see, is they're doing something really tiny and it's on the collar or it's on the sleeve, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's it. And especially that seems to trend more with corporate, where they kind of want a more sophisticated, subtle look than something that's just giant. And then something that's just everywhere, you can't get around it, is just a little chest print.
Yeah,
it's 2 or 3 inches, and then that's it. Right.
We just did that for Airbnb. One of our clients landed Airbnb, and they're paying an exorbitant amount for these T-shirts, and it's it's literally the Airbnb logo. What would normally be a left chest, like centered in the
right. Mm-hmm.
Which is if they're willing to pay for
it. All right, so lots of stuff here. Just kidding. Nick and me are very close. This is pronounced Michelle, right, or Michael? Michelle. Nick. Michelle. Nick and me were performing in a band, the Two Caucasian Blondies. Is that true?
No, I mean.
Also greetings from his mom, right? So, right. So, hey, Marsha, could you please ask Nick what, in his opinion, is on the graphic source financial issues rumors? I've had talks with several of the suppliers and are late with their payments. So, what is that? What is it? That deal? Do you know anything about that? Is this true, or is this somebody is trying to stir the pot here a little bit?
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Do you know who this is?
No.
All right. Well, hey. So if you're going to cast aspersions like this, I think you need to back that up a little bit, pal.
Right.
right? All right. Well, we got time for one last topic, which is going to be virtual help. Okay, which is what you guys do.
Right.
And this past year, I've started using a virtual assistant for the first time.
Yeah.
And let me tell you how much better my work has been because I am delegating a lot of the tasks
Right.
that I do to somebody that was really eating my time. And it's really super important. I want to do the main stuff, and the stuff that I can delegate off, I can train somebody to do that for me. And that way I can focus on higher end, bigger picture stuff. Right. And that's really helped my business grow, and I'm able to do more. Right. Which is the whole reason why I think a lot of people should look at services like Graphic Source, because it doesn't mean that you're getting rid of your art department. It just means they can focus more on being creative, and then somebody else can separate the file, or somebody else can do the digitizing, or somebody else can send the proof to the client, and you don't have to. You can just do the artwork part, right? So talk about that for a minute, maybe, of how people are actually using virtual assistants to get more done in a day.
Yeah, you're precisely right. So, I mean, I'll use Josh's case study as an example. When he changes a status, that means he's not there, proofing the art out, or, whatever task that is, it is then moving down the process. So really, instead of, you quantify a time, let's say a proof, let's say it takes you 25 minutes, if you're seasoned, just to make sure everything's accurate, that 25 minutes, once you delegate that task, now is open up to, sales follow-up, burning screens, whatever production task or administrative task is, that's just time better spent. And the fact, knowing that task is being complete on your behalf, I think is really the biggest aspect for sure.
Okay, great. So, couple comments here. So, do you think that Nick will learn our standards to ensure consistent file input, or DTS, or film? Right?
For sure.
So it's really about setting up the parameters, right? Our goal is to shorten pre-press workflow and deliver accurate separations that'll keep our clients coming back time and time again. And then this other guy, I'm just going to block him. So, all right. So Josh says SOPs, I think, are super important. And this really has to do whether your worker is right there next to you or on the other side of the planet. Having exactly how we want to do stuff really matters. And so this is all part of your training, your workflow, your process mapping. I think a lot of times people don't really do a good job of this. And that's why things get set up to fail sometimes, just because we don't have good communication and clarity on the expectations of what we're supposed to be doing. And so there's that misalignment. And then you've got challenges that occur after that, right? So talk about, if you're going to use a virtual team, Nick, is there a process? Is there a way to map that out in advance? What do you guys do?
Yeah, that's precisely right. And Josh brings up a very good point, as SOPs. So really, that artist that you staff, that we place, is going to follow your process to the T. Meaning that, if it's something where it's, it could be at a fault, even to where, it's they'll follow exactly what you say. So if that's a wrong way to do it, they'll follow it exactly the wrong way to do it. So data in, garbage in, garbage out. But Josh is precisely right. So the way that we capture those SOPs is we create a Skype channel. And what we'll do is we'll jump on a video call and record that entire video call and use that as the SOP. So running through, what happens when a job is sold, to when it gets to us, when we need to revectorize, when we need to separate, sim process, all that stuff, when we need to upload something for embroidery. So yeah, really, we record all of those SOPs and try to stick to it as much as we possibly can. There also, there is like the human issue in there as well, to where it is a human being at the end of the line. entering orders and all that good stuff. So there can be some human elements to it, but
Right.
yeah, with the SOPs, we record it, and that's, the word is bond. And then also follow up too. Like if there's something needs to be changed, a follow up call is definitely in order. And Josh is a perfect example of that, to where, hey, we're changing the process to this. So yeah, it just works good.
Right. So just thinking this through. So if you want a certain size, like, everybody every shop's a little different, right? So they use a different size frame, or they have different, some people print to film, some people print to all the different CTS units out there. There's different artboard templates. There's different things, right? So when you guys are mapping out to work with a new client, these are the things that we set up in advance. So the outcome is exactly what somebody wants. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly right. To the T.
Okay. Yeah. Great. So what do we do? And I know the answer to this. It's kind of a rhetorical question, right? So what do we do if we're not in alignment, right? So if I've got a virtual assistant, and so she's making mistakes, or I'm not communicating well, right? What do we need to do to get back on track, do you think, Nick?
That's a great question. And that does happen quite a bit, especially with there's times where an artist will be out sick or something happens, and they really, struggle to get caught back up. What I've found is just jumping on a group call and identifying exactly what we need to get done. So yeah, that does happen for sure. How do you handle it, Marshall, with your VA? Like what's the process?
Well, let me tell you, the mistakes that get made a lot of times are my fault, right? Because I didn't clearly communicate what I wanted, or how I wanted, or when it should have been done, or that type of stuff. And I'm a don't sweat the small stuff kind of guy, right? So it's just like, hey, this is a learning opportunity. This is how I want you to do it. Let's move forward this way. And let's just grow, right? And it's easy to get angry and frustrated and get all emotional about it. But what happens, there's more, there's a dark side or downside to that could jeopardize the relationship and what's happening. Now, if we're constantly making mistakes, that's another thing, right? So it's just one of these deals where what we have to do is we have to just recognize, what do we need to do to get better? How can we articulate and communicate exactly what needs to get handled, and then just move forward, right? I like using templates, right?
Yeah.
A template or an outline or a checklist or any of these tools that you can use that are going to help you dial in the results, because you've got known parameters that you're starting from. Whether you're using a virtual assistant or your team right here in the next room, if you have stuff like this, this allows everybody to be on the same page and actually work faster, because everybody knows what to do, and you can actually hold people accountable, because, hey, there's 6 steps to this process. You skip step 4, it's wrong, and that way you're doing things the way that you want them done, right?
Yeah, that's exactly the same way. Those are the standards that we hold our artists to as well. And then also documenting when those standards aren't followed as well. That's another thing, to where if there's a step that comes out wrong for the 5th time, then there needs to be, whether it's training, whether it's sitting down with the artist, like documenting that is absolutely key.
Right. Well, we need training, right? So corrective action comes, if we keep making mistakes, then you have to make a managerial decision, right? But that should be very obvious to all parties involved, right? And but we need to first, I think, look at what's going on, and do we have a prescribed workflow that we should have? Do we have everything we need? Is the information correct? We want to dial in just to make sure all of that is set up, right? And if we're not following, it's just like baking a cake. If we're not following the recipe, you're not going to have the results that you want. Okay.
Right.
So if we are following the recipe and we're not getting the results that we want, what's going on with that?
Mhm.
Right. And so that's where I think a lot of communication, really just taking the emotion out of it. If you can just say, hey, we're just here to try to solve this problem. Right.
Right. Right.
And because we want the results, right? That we're results oriented. That's what we want, is the performance. And so if you guys are watching, right, and if you have challenges with an employee, or maybe you have a virtual assistant, right, can you drop a note in there about maybe that challenge or maybe the problem you're having, and let's discuss it real quick. We got about 5 minutes or so left in the show. I'd love to help somebody with something. That's why we need you to chime in. So get it in there, right?
I was going to say the VA side has been a major growing aspect to GraphX as well too. So the answering calls, that aspect is that side of the business has been, that kind of
you guys are starting something new, right?
Yeah, precisely. We do this for a customer that's based in LA. So we're his answering service. So not only do we do his artwork, we're also the VP, the virtual phone. So what we'll do is we'll answer and quote just kind of based on the quoting parameters that he's given us. But then if it's like, 1,500, I think I can't remember what the threshold is to actually get it over to the shop owner. That he set like a threshold of, X amount of garments. It needs to be escalated up. So it's a pretty slick little setup for sure. So I think we have 4 people doing that currently. So
that's interesting. I know I know another person that uses a phone answering bank, and this person's always in a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, he's in a meeting.
Right.
Going to ask what this is about, and then the important stuff get forwarded through, and then all the digitizing calls get stopped.
Right.
So,
Right.
And that seems to be the bane of that. Why? By the way, I know you don't know the answer to this, but why do digitizers feel the need to call 16 times a day? Right?
Yeah.
Well, do you understand that? I don't understand that at all. Right?
It's a way to not answer. I like the shirt show. My mom does our digitizing, so
well, she's not calling people 100 times a day, right? Right. So Frank says, receiving stock accurately. My wife had a situation in her business this morning with a POS system not matching actual stock.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So with the system not matching the actual stock. So does that mean that it didn't match the packing slip? Is that what you mean, Frank? I'm not sure. I know in my brain what POS means. Maybe it means something different to you, right? So anyway, so receiving stock accuracy. A week or two ago, I wrote a whole blog article about how to upgrade your receiving department. So and just it's really about procedures and workflow and using the packing slip and that type of stuff. This is all information based.
Yeah.
And so how I like to do it is take the packing slip, use the packing slip against what's in the box. You verify what that is, and then you check it against the system to verify that you have everything. And that way you don't have confirmation bias when you're bringing in your goods, right? And so I detail that out a little bit, right? And then Josh has to go. Have a good day. Yep. Frank says employees aren't receiving POs correctly. There you go. So it's the process, right? So you have to define the process, Frank, exactly what the expectations are. And then if they're not doing it right, then we need to have training, right? Use a checklist. Here are the steps that I want you to follow, that type of stuff. Check out my blog, and I've got everything written out. It's a big lengthy article, so it should help you.
Yeah, the BSN printers are getting hammered in terms of split shipments. Like that's one aspect. Like, the receiving.
Everybody's got split shipments, right? It's not just that stuff. We're getting email spam from digitizers with no way to opt out, and some are sending sample pics, and the file sizes are huge.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's unfortunate. So there's no way to block them.
Hey, can you ask if Keith uses Gmail? because at
Keith, you
Gmail,
use Gmail?
they just added like a really cool feature to block it right there at the top. But some emails you can unsubscribe through Gmail, which is really cool. I just noticed that feature not too long ago.
Well, when I get stuff like this, so I look for the unsubscribe. I'm nice, right?
Sure.
If I can't do the unsubscribe, then I will spam and report you.
Right.
Yep. And then of course I use Gmail, right? So I have the 3 sections. 1 is regular mail, 2 is like social, and the 3rd's promotions. Mm-hmm. And a lot of stuff winds up in promotions. I'm an inbox 0 guy, so I like to have my inbox with nothing in it. Great. Okay. And then I don't like anything in my inbox that's not like a real email, right? So I'm constantly vigilant about unsubscribing or moving or doing something with the stuff that doesn't belong there. So but just because I like that on my workflow, and I only check my email 3 times a day, right? Really? I don't check it like all day long, every minute an email. Right?
That's interesting.
I check it in the morning, either right before or right after lunch, and at the end of the day. That's it.
That's great. Good call on batching it out.
Well, I got things to do. I'm usually on the phone. Yeah. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. And Keith says, well, didn't click. No, they always send with someone famous like Kevin Costner. Right. So just look for the Yellowstone ad.
Yeah. Right. Right.
That's such a good show. I don't know if you watched it.
I love that show. Yeah. That is a edge of the seat.
Yeah. So, all right. So that's everything. I'm going to throw your website up here real quick. So if you're not a Graphic Source customer, give Nick a call. I'm sure he'll love to talk to you.
Cell phone.
And then just a reminder, if you got confused at the beginning of the show, because I'm an idiot, we are having a show next week, but we're not the day after Thanksgiving. So thank you, Keith, for correcting me. I appreciate that. So we're out of time. Any last words of encouragement or anything from you, Nick?
No, so let's keep on hustling. I would say, if everybody was kind of concerned about how 2021 was going to end up, shops are busier than ever. So it's an incredible time to be a part of the industry. So looking forward to Long Beach.
Yeah, me too. And enjoy Dallas. You got big plans this weekend?
It's going to be a very mellow weekend for sure.
I'm telling you, you got to go to the Pecan Lodge.
All right. That sounds like a plan.
If I was there, I'd be there with you, man. It's awesome. All right. So Frank says, thanks so much, guys. Great info, Nick. Appreciate you. Thanks for watching. Nick, don't go anywhere. I'm just ending the broadcast. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week. Take care.
See you guys.